This is a true crime discussions channel. We speculate. This is all just speculation. Because it's true crime, it's for mature audiences only. There will be no children allowed, no exceptions. Everything on this channel falls under fair use. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. It's free.
Hey everyone. So yeah, I just heard that a verdict is in. I have not seen it on the news station channel yet, but I do believe it is in. We should know something by about 3:30. They said after they announced that the verdict was in, it was going to be about 2 hours so that they could give time for the families to get there. They also have to transport Richard Allen from the precinct or the jail or whatever to the courtroom. So we're going to hang out here and chill and chat until we hear something. I'm going to be keeping a really close eye on the news channel and all of that to see if they update us and tell us what the verdict is in. If you hear it somewhere else and you can verify that source before I have found it, please let me know in the chat. Speaking of the chat, let me thank you all for being here. Thank you, Joy and Eek and Sarah and Toxic Orchard. Bad Girl, Joy, Sarah Lee, Bear and Marshmallow, Shaboogies, Jennifer Hoff, Doc Bones. I saw some. Shaboogies, Sarah Lee, Jennifer Hoff, Doc Bones, Amy, True Crime Addict, Julie Jordan, Trixie, my lovely Jenny, Angela Halo. Lots of people in here. Becky, thank you for being here. Abellis, my lovely. Thank you all. Thank you so much for being here. I've got several things to show you guys. But for right now, I'm going to show you a video. I've got a couple of videos on this playlist. We actually have a lot to go over. And while I am showing you this video, I'm going to pull a document that I got from a great Discord channel. And I'm also going to get their link and pin it. It's going to be as the gavel drops. I've got this great document that tells us about the case. So let me get us a video playing, and while we are watching a video, I will get that stuff together. I put several in here this morning. Oh yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the Flora fire. Okay, we'll start with this court TV one, Delphi Red Rums, and it was new charges for Richard Allen. This is from 7 months ago. I do believe it's going to tell us more about some of the other possible suspects, which is going to kind of get into the document I want to go over with you guys. So while we watch this,
Print prints everything to get your brand in front of your fans, like t-shirts, water bottles, and totes. So
hold on just a minute.
Abby and Libby, they were murdered and
okay. So
great to have you with us.
This is going to be from Court TV. And again, it's called Delphi Red Rums, new Red Rum charges for Richard Allen.
Vinny Politan, this is closing arguments, and we've got some big news this hour. Don't go anywhere. Big news on big cases. And we begin with the case involving these two little girls, Abby and Libby.
Bear and Marshmallow, and I didn't know if I said your name, but if I didn't, thank you for being here.
They were murdered in Delphi, Indiana, small town. They were just going for a walk. Took 5 years for an arrest in the case. And since that arrest, things have gotten much more complicated in the prosecution of this case. The man has been accused as Richard Allen. Here he is, shortly after his arrest. He looks a little different these days, but he's getting ready for his trial. And this trial is set to happen in the middle of May. May 13th is the day. Now, he was back in court today.
Now, again, remember, this is from 7 months ago, but I have some documents that were dropped on October 30th, just right before the trial. Obviously, they rescheduled it for now.
A lot of things happening in court. Court TV senior producer Barbara McDonald is there. She is waiting in the cold for us to go to her. But for those of you who don't know this story, don't know what happened, Matt Johnson takes us back to the scene tonight.
We're here in Delphi, Indiana, a town of about 3,000 people. It is the town seat of Carroll County. We're going to take you on the trail, on the Monon High Bridge trail that Libby and Abby took in 2017 and how they made it to the bridge. That's not this bridge. This is Freedom Bridge, also mentioned in court documents. So where they started that day, that's a little bit up the road. Across from Mears Farms is what's called Mears Entrance, according to court documents. And it would have been the main entrance in 2017. This fence wouldn't have been here. This is where Kelsey said that she dropped off Libby and Abby on February 13th that year. She would have waved goodbye, said that she loved them, and then watched them walk past those trees. And once Libby and Abby cleared the trees, they had a choice to make. Right here in the center of the trail, they could choose to go.
Okay, so I just pinned a Discord link that is going to be to the Discord channel As the Gavel Drops. As the Gavel Drops has like all the documents you could ever want from anyone ever on any case. It's amazing. And that's where I got the document I'm going to go over in just a second. I'm also checking the Twitter for the local news station a lot while we're waiting.
Right and go towards town, or they could choose to go left towards the bridge. They went left. This is also where three girls say that they ran into a man generally matching the suspect description. He was heading towards the bridge. They were heading the opposite direction towards town. You know, walking along the trail, you realize that there are a lot of places that someone could hide. Yes, it was a different season. This happened in February of 2017. So there wouldn't have been leaves on the trees, but there were a lot of trees, and it would have been very dense. According to court documents, at around 2 o'clock that same day, a witness said she saw a man on the bridge standing about 50 feet up, but he looked very different according to her account. Looked boyish, young, 20s, maybe 30s, no facial hair, and brown curly hair or
That's a lot different than Richard Allen.
poofy hair. And that's what led to the second sketch. So we're at about the halfway point of the Monon High Bridge here behind me in Delphi, Indiana. You can see I'm standing on a part that is rebuilt, looks completely different than the area that leads over to private property. About this area right here, that's where that Snapchat photo was taken, where Libby takes a picture of her friend Abby. The two girls, they were heading down the bridge south over to
The link I just dropped is for panel if anybody wants to come up and talk while we're waiting for them to read the verdict.
private property, and that's where the abduction happened.
And let's bring in Court TV senior producer Barbara McDonald, who is joining us tonight outside the Allen County Superior Courthouse in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Barbara, big day. A lot of things happening. 2 sessions in court, morning and afternoon. So let's begin. I want to begin here, though, because the scene inside the courthouse.
Sarah Lee says 2 questions. What time are they reading the verdict, and what time zone is that in? So they're in my time zone. I heard on a different YouTube channel at 1:18 that the verdict was in. So it should be, I would assume, around 3:18 or so. I would say anytime between 3 and 3:30 is probably when they're going to read the verdict. But again, I'm keeping a very close eye on it. So that's going to be in, again, it's 1:36 right now. So about, like I said, between 3 and 3:30 would be what I would say, which would be, you know, it's 1:30 now here, and I'm in their time zone.
My understanding is, I mean, we know this case is huge, and everyone's talking about it, have been talking about it for years. You got some YouTubers getting into a scuffle in the courtroom or courthouse?
Yeah, apparently one of those YouTubers was going to be one of the defense witnesses in the motion to, or rather the contempt hearing today, to talk about the leak of information from people other than the defense. But during the lunch break, there was some sort of scuffle between at least two YouTubers, perhaps one or two other people. The police immediately got involved and moved them out of the courthouse and said, "You are not coming back in." In fact, I saw them being escorted off the entire courthouse property. And so I don't know how much that changed.
Hi, Sally Carson. Thank you for being here. Flora W asked about the song. So I get my songs from Epidemic Sound. I have to pay a fee monthly for that. The song is called Pull Me Out, and it's by Mike Stringer. You'd have to go to Epidemic Sound to find that.
That hearing and what David Hennessy was planning to do. He did call some other YouTubers and people who are online commenters on the case, but we didn't hear a lot of testimony from them because there were so many objections, and the judge sided with the prosecution on those issues.
So again, this is 7 months ago. And I'm just playing it as kind of a refresher, and we're going to go over some of the other possible suspects that we saw. I don't know who the YouTubers were, Stephanie. This was back 7 months ago. I actually might just go ahead and jump into this document. Sally said, I just think he would have had to have known they were going to be at the bridge, or he would have had to be off just to off someone. Yeah, I don't know. I know Keegan Klein knew that he was going to be there, and we're going to talk about some other people too here in just a minute. Okay, thank you, Anders, my love.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get into the meat of it. I mean, the intensity of this case and the tension between the defense and the prosecution and the judge, and now you've got it with people who are covering the story. All of this, it's unreal what's happening out in Indiana. So the first thing I want to deal with is the contempt hearing, right? So there's the prosecution.
Hey, Michelle,
wants
thank you for
the
being
defense
here.
off the case, or what do they want done to the defense attorneys here? And it's kind of unusual for prosecutors making these types of allegations.
Hey, Sarah, thank you for being here. If you want to say something, just let me know and I'll pause the video.
Yeah, and these allegations immediately followed that Supreme Court case back in January that reinstated these defense attorneys. This filing from the prosecutor came just a day or two after that. And he said in court he wasn't asking for any particular remedy, that would be up to the court. But
Serena, our lovely Serena, or Sarah, coming in with the information. She said Rick Snay from Delphi After Dark and No Amos were the YouTubers. They are now good friends. Because remember, this again was from about 7 months ago. Thank you, Sarah, for that information.
But my understanding is that everything is on the table, from a fine to sanctions to perhaps even jail time. Now, the judge did hear some testimony from both sides. She said she's going to take the entire issue under advisement. And
hey, Sheila says, and Fred Field, thank you for being here, standing by, and I'm here too, since you're saying hello. Thank you for letting me know, Sheila. And to Michelle, Toxic Orchid and Trixie's Creations for You both said to drive safe. Okay.
And she is not planning to issue a ruling on that issue until the week before the trial begins in May, which is just 56 days away. So it definitely seems unlikely that one of those options will be the removal of those defense attorneys.
Well, with this case's history, nothing's off the table, Barbara. But you're right. You're absolutely right. It'd be very unlikely for that to happen, but who knows? So, and again, this is all related to images from the crime scene that were on the computer screen of one of the lawyers, and someone without permission took images of that and disseminated it to some podcaster / YouTube people.
Yeah, so this is telling us about when the crime scene photos were leaked, again, 7 months ago, for anybody that's just coming in. Sarah said it was quite a fight, non-fight. They may have puffed their chest and bumped chest talking about the fight in the courtroom. And again, that was, she told us it was Delphi After Dark. I know that one. And Nos Amos, I think she said, were the two YouTubers that were fighting, not fighting.
Right, who then further disseminated those images. And we heard from Indiana State Police, who investigated that incident. They did not bring any charges against the attorney involved, and that is Andrew Baldwin. But they did take a look at some of the other people. And in fact, one of the people that they questioned regarding this leak ended up taking his own life. Another person has been charged with conversion. That trial has not happened yet. My understanding is that is supposed to happen in the next couple of weeks. One of the things that the prosecutor said, though, in his sort of closing summation of that part of the hearing today was that, you know, the leak of these images creates a lot of just pain and suffering that's absolutely impossible to repair.
Sarah Lee, again, if you want to say something or anything,
maybe. Sorry, is it working? Am I here?
Yeah, you're here.
Sorry,
You're
like
good.
the heaviness of like just how many lives are going to change today. It just hit me kind of, you know, it's kind of like, it's heavy. No matter what, it's going to be heavy. But I see people asking about, can a hung jury be considered a verdict?
Right.
So just, I mean, I'm not a lawyer by any means, but I've had a lot of experience in the courts. And what I've found is that they'll say things like the jury's back or the jury has something to say. Rarely do they say verdict when it's going to be a hung jury. And usually the judges and attorneys, they want the jury to deliberate more than just, you know, a few days. They'll keep pushing and pushing and pushing them as far as they can push until they say, you know, we're deadlocked or whatever.
Okay.
But usually they won't say verdict if it's going to be a mistrial or a hung jury. But I mean, I don't know how this court works though. Maybe they do, but
Okay.
I think it would be worded differently had it been, or if it is a hung jury.
Yeah. Shaboogies just said they confirmed it's not hung, so I'm still
That's
worried.
good.
Hey, Toxic. Dio. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was concerned because I saw that question and I was like, oh, wow, what a good question. I wonder if they would say it was a verdict, if it was like going to be declared a mistrial or a jury. So I appreciate that question. And Shaboogi's coming in and letting us know that it's not hung. So that makes me more nervous about the verdict.
I mean, yeah, is Shibuki, are you there? Are you at the courthouse or you just does she, I can't see the chat, so I don't know.
She
what
said
she
she
said.
got it from a different YouTube channel, said that. So maybe,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I'm still concerned though.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like I said, you know, any verdict today is it's going to change people's lives dramatically,
It
negatively,
is.
you know, and justice won't be served because, well, at least in my mind, it won't be served, but no matter what. But I
Yeah.
mean, hey, what time is the verdict going to be and what time zone are they on?
Okay, so I'm on Eastern Standard Time, and at 1:18 p.m. is when a YouTube channel came in and said that there was a verdict in. So sometime in the previous 5 minutes of that, they had reached a verdict, and they said the news station said after they reach a verdict, they're given 2 hours for the family and Richard Allen to arrive before they read the verdict, and then they're going to read the verdict. So I would assume it would be between 3 and 3:30 that the verdict's going to be read, and it's 1:46 right now.
Okay. Yeah, I know Indiana's got some weird thing with daylight savings and their time zones, and I know it gets sometime like where I'm at in Central, we are like right spot on with part of Indiana, and then other times we're an hour behind. So I got
Yeah.
confused.
Yeah, I looked it up on my phone the other day and I was actually surprised because I'm in North Carolina and Delphi is the same time as me. And I was like, wow, I didn't know all the way in Delphi was the same time zone. Yeah. So it should, yeah, it's like I said, it's 1:46 for me, and it'll be, I would assume between 3 and 3:30 we'll have something.
Wow. Wow,
I'm
man.
stressed.
That's crazy. Did the girl's family ever come out and say what they think about Richard Allen and that situation? Have they spoken out about his guilt or innocence in their opinions?
I think I saw somewhere that they were agreeing that they thought he was guilty, but I'm not positive on that.
Wow.
Amy says they are letting people in the courtroom now. Okay. All right. I'm keeping an eye out, and I'm going to continue to check the local news station in that area. They have a Twitter or an X feed where they said they're going to post everything. But again, if you guys see anything, please let me know in the chat what you see and where you found it so I can verify it if I haven't got it before you do. Okay. And thank you. And thank you, Sarah Lee, for coming up.
That the families of Abby and Libby, every time they go on social media, have to be worried that they're going to see these images or that somebody is going to share them, and that they can potentially taint the jury pool. But one of the things that David Hennessy, who is the defense attorney for the defense attorneys, brought up, that he got First Sergeant Jerry Holman of the Indiana State Police to admit on the witness stand today, is that they did not go after everyone that their investigation revealed had acquired those images. So David Hennessy made the point that, hey, if you're so worried about these images being out there, why didn't you go after everyone down that chain that you discovered had received those images and force them to delete those images? And because you didn't do that, we shouldn't be held responsible for the potential harm that these images could cause.
And again, my understanding is the person who took them didn't have permission to do it. It's not like the defense is like leaking things like sometimes that the government does in other cases. The federal government is really good at leaking information, and no one ever gets in trouble for that. And here we're trying to.
Good morning, Norma, and thank you for being here. Stephanie says that Kathy Allen is being dropped off soon. Okay, thank you. No, Norma. Well, they've reached a verdict. We're waiting. The verdict should be read between probably right around 3 o'clock in about an hour and 10 minutes. I'm thinking an hour and 10 minutes to about an hour and 30 minutes. We should have a verdict.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
This leaking of the crime scene photos, somebody was paid. I don't care what they say, what their intent motives are. Somebody paid somebody to leak those. No doubt.
I'm sure.
That was calculated. Whatever happened to the person that leaked them? Did they ever say it?
I don't know. I don't remember. They said somebody unalived themselves. But I don't know if it was the person that leaked the photos. But yeah, those are out there. They're hard to look at.
Well, whoever paid for that person to do that, the blood is on their hands too.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Okay, no, that's all I wanted to say about that.
Oh yeah, you're good. Thank you.
You know, it's strange. It's very unusual. Now, another big part of today.
Essentially, yeah, a war room. Yeah.
Shaboogi's coming in with the info, said he was fired and he's in jail. Okay, thank you for that.
Well, I was just going to say that essentially these images were on display in the war room for Attorney Baldwin's office, and that, yeah, he did not imagine that anybody would go in there without permission and take pictures of pictures that were on display and then to share those, and that he is essentially a victim of theft and should.
Bad Girl says everybody on YouTube is doing live verdict, right? And when I was just a subscriber, I would click between all the different lives to see if one of them said that they had the verdict yet, and then I would make sure where they got it from to verify. But yeah, feel free to do so. And again, if y'all hear anything before I'm able to pull anything, let me know. Just make sure you can tell me where you got it so I can know that it's accurate.
Shouldn't be held accountable for that.
Yeah, I mean, if someone stole it from prosecutors, do we think that they'd be held in? I don't know. This is very unusual what's happening, but we'll see a week before the trial what the judge says about that. Now, let's talk about the actual charges, what this case is really about. Abby, Libby, and the accused Richard Allen. There was another hearing involving the charges in this case, which have now been changed.
They've amended the charges. Initially, Richard Allen was charged with 2 counts of murder that was essentially felony murder. Indiana doesn't have first, second, third degree murder, but the prosecutor said in all of his documents that he was charging them with murder that happened during the attempted kidnapping of the girls. And
Bad Girl says, why would Gull allow cameras for the verdict? I think they meant like at all, point blank period. It was devastating that that she didn't let cameras in. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, for my members, we have 3 new emojis. We have a stop it, we have a no ma'am, and we have a no sir. Just in case y'all didn't know, I did that this morning. And I forgot to tell y'all. The world is watching, Bad Girl. The world is watching. And Doc Bones agrees, and Bad Girl said no, not allowed cameras for the verdict. Thank you so much.
And that therefore all they would have to prove is the attempted kidnapping, and he would therefore be guilty of the murder as well. Now they have added 2 additional charges of intentional murder. So he is facing 4 counts of murder for the deaths of Abby and Libby back in 2017.
All right, that's a big development in this case. Now, there was another hearing today, and this is a motion brought not by the prosecution, like these first 2, but by the defense to dismiss the case based on destruction of exculpatory evidence. This is the one I need the explanation on. What happened here? What's alleged to have happened? Why is the defense saying that the prosecution is destroying evidence of their client's innocence?
So it turns out, Vinny, that back in August of 2017, law enforcement investigating these murders discovered that all of the audio and video recordings of interviews with witnesses and potential suspects during the first week of the investigation, from February 13th of 2017 until the 20th of that month, had been recorded over. And they didn't even discover that until August of that year. The defense says they weren't told about it until very recently when they inquired, where are these interviews? How can we watch these? How can we listen to these interviews? And today in court, we found out that not only did that happen once, it happened another time for about 2 months, where all of those recordings were deleted or recorded over between April and June of 2017. And furthermore, Vinny, that they don't
see that isn't that convenient. All of the interviews from other possible suspects and anything that could have been pertinent or anything that could have pointed to a different possible suspect have been conveniently recorded over. I'm glad that I finally got somebody saying that on a video. That I'm with Sheila, like red flags out the yin yang on that. That's just ridiculous. And in such a high profile case, the red rum of 2 beautiful girls, you got that going on. Like corruption, anyone? I smell effery afoot.
No, dude, I agree with you on that.
A log of who?
Sorry, love.
Sorry, I was just saying I agree with you on that. Like I don't know if y'all are familiar with the McNabb Bell case, but when the mom that was found guilty, she had her verdict overturned and then just like completely squashed or whatever you call that. There wasn't enough evidence. They said there wasn't enough evidence to even bring charges on her. I would not be surprised if that's what happens here, down the line.
Right. I don't think there was enough evidence to bring charges against him, to be honest. Keister Bunny said it happened twice. And right, that's what she was saying. And thank you for being here, Keister. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It reminds me of something Damien Eccles said when he was going through all his stuff with that. He said, I just kept waiting for somebody to come in and stop all of this craziness.
Yeah.
And it's just, I wonder, if somebody were to be accused of these horrific crimes and they weren't innocent, this is what I would expect from them. I would expect them to go insane and be, a physical and mental mess. And that's what Richard Allen is. And just like, I wonder if he's sitting there thinking, when's somebody going to stop all of this?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's heavy. Well, I have to hop off here. I'm going to be listening, but my car broke. So my friend's here to help me work on it.
Okay.
But like, just all I can say is everyone be mindful. We have a legal system, not a justice system.
Yeah.
No matter which way this goes, we have a legal system, not a justice system.
Right.
So,
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to be listening. See what happens.
Okay. I hope you get everything with your car fixed.
Oh, thanks. Me too. Y'all have a good day. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Who those people are who were interviewed during those times, that those interviews are now missing. So they can't even go back and create a list of, here are all of the people we talked to during that time who we no longer have their interview recorded.
Is the state, the prosecution here, conceding that these recordings are gone, that they're missing, that they existed at one point and now they're gone?
Well, we assume they existed at one point. Nobody, I guess, really went back to check until August. And that's when they discovered that this DVR system that they had installed in the Delphi Police Department that was operated by a switch. And they were telling all of the officers who were looking into the case.
Doc Bone says the media is going into the courthouse now. Yep, they sure are. I'm going to put this on like 1.25 speed to try to speed it up. The local news station is going live at 2:03, so I'm going to try to stream that. Hopefully we won't get in trouble. Everybody say a prayer.
Case in those early days, you know, anybody you want to talk to, bring them on into the Delphi Police Department, take them into one of these rooms, flip the switch, and then it'll be recorded. And instead, what they discovered was that somehow the system was reset so that it was on a continuous record. So everything just kept getting recorded over. And so, yeah, they are admitting that we don't have those interviews. We cannot share them with you. In some cases, they do have the narrative that the officer wrote after conducting those interviews. But the prosecution says there's nothing in any of those interviews that would be exculpatory or help Richard Allen's defense. And therefore, it kind of doesn't matter.
Wow. But they don't know everyone who was interviewed. Were any of these interviews in any way potentially connected to the defense theory of this sacrifice, this cult, this group?
Keister Bunny says Gull has proven biased influence upon the verdict, which will help in the appeal process. Hopefully an appeal isn't necessary. Right, I agree. Anders, thank you so much for, oh my goodness, for the $100 super sticker. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Wow, thank you. I know that it's a different currency, but thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That was super sweet. Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you. That was super sweet.
Group of people following Odinism.
At least one of the men who has been identified by the defense as being one of those members of the Odinist group who could potentially be an alternate suspect in this case. His interview was not recorded or lost.
Annalise, so they came back on a YouTube channel at 1:18 my time, and said that they had a verdict. It is now 2:00 my time, so at probably about 3:00 or 3:30, anytime in between there, we will have a verdict. You also said that Richard Allen is guilty, in my opinion. Please let me know why. I would love to know what your thoughts are on that. Shirley Roth, yes, we have a verdict in. They said it will take them about 2 hours to read it after the verdict comes in. And we're about to jump over to the local news station in that county or that area. They're going live at 2:03. It's at 2:00 right now. So I'm trying to get through this real quick, and then we're going to stream them because they're going to read the verdict live whenever we all get to hear it. Thank you again, Andrew.
They do have the narrative from that. Also, the state called, or rather one of the witnesses who testified was Steve Mullins, who was the Delphi police chief at the time that all of this happened. He is now retired from that position and working as an investigator for the prosecutor. And he admitted that, basically, we don't have that information. And some of the people that we brought in and talked to were people who were reporting tips about those men. And we also don't have those interviews. But again, they don't necessarily have a list of who those names are because they didn't keep a log of that information.
I don't know if you can see, but my jaw has just dropped to the ground. I don't understand this. Well, but it makes sense now in how the case hasn't been solved. It took 5 years to solve a case where the suspect they've arrested and charged talked to authorities like the next day and said, yeah, I was there. Right. I was on the bridge that day. And then you look at him and 2 seconds later, you realize he's got kind of the same build as the guy on the recording. Wow.
I heard about that.
He does, yes.
And it may be him, it may not be him. I don't know. It's just grainy enough so you can't tell the facial features. But it's enough for a little follow-up, right? Like before 5 years, you want to follow up with the guy who said he was there. And they somehow misplaced this information.
That's my issue.
And one of the points that Andrew Baldwin made in court today regarding that is, perhaps, they're saying that the information that this man conveyed to them during that interview would not help Richard Allen's defense. Their point is, what if he said something in that interview that then later you found some evidence about that you could then go back and go, aha, see, he kind of indicated he might have some knowledge about something that perhaps he shouldn't have had knowledge of. They can't do that because that interview.
Annalise says, I love your channel, by the way. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. You guys in the chat are what makes this channel great. I love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions. And I heard about that Gray Hughes getting upset with Vinny. Jennifer says, I bet you anything some of those cops are owed into, just like the prison guards and some of the townspeople. There's some kind of underground cover-up thing going on, and that's why the FBI was booted. I think so. I don't know if it might not necessarily be this, but there's some kind of corruption going on there, and I think that's why they didn't want the FBI snooping around. But I think the FBI would have solved this case, and I don't think there'd be any questions about it.
They only have a narrative, which was described several ways, being perhaps 6 paragraphs, very short paragraphs, maybe 100 words on the entire document. That's the narrative of what he had to say back in those first days of the investigation.
Wow. The more we learn, the scarier it gets, the way all of this went down. It doesn't help prosecutors. Doesn't mean they can't win the case. Doesn't mean that Richard Allen can't be found guilty, but it's going to be much more of a challenge now. Barbara McDonald on the ground in Fort Wayne tonight. Thank you so much. All right, folks, when we come back, what do they think? What do they think about what we're learning about Delphi? Al Wunsch, Jennifer Brandt, and of course, Darnell Crossland. Next.
All right, we'll finish that next. Right now, the local news station has just got the people outside of the courthouse. Hold on, I'll pull that up. And they're not talking right now, so that'll give me time to read this wonderful document I got from As the Gavel Drops Discord, which I have pinned at the top. Oh, my comments had stopped going. Yes, I have it on my phone right now, and it's just people outside of the courthouse that they're showing. So this is the local news station. And that's all they have up right now. I'm going to keep it over here to the side, and I'll pull up this document. We're going to keep watching it, though. I wanted to show you a couple of things as far as other suspects go. So I have it pulled up on my phone as well. So if anything happens, I'll immediately stop what I'm doing and come back to this. You might be able to hear it in the background still, even after I pull this stuff up. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me make sure you can see this. Okay, so this is a picture of Abby's boyfriend, and it states Abby's boyfriend, Logan, I can't remember the name, Holder, I think, who is Brad Holder's, or Hoffman, I can't remember that last name, but that person who testified, this is his son, okay? And he looks just like the sketch, sunken cheeks and all, adding that this was a sketch, not a bridge guy, but a person seen in the area by the mailboxes near the bridge. So this is the sketch of the person by the mailboxes. Remember, we heard about that the other day. Thank you so much, Sarah. And he looks just like Logan Holder, who is Brad Holder's son. And you can see him pictured here with Abby. So that was one screenshot I wanted to share. Here's another one of another possible suspect. And then I'm going to read some paperwork to you. Hold on, let me get this pulled up. This is going to be a post from Magnolia with JLR. And she said, a lot of people keep asking, who is Brad Holder? Well, he's the father of Abby's boyfriend, Logan Holder, which was the boy we just saw in the other screenshot. He's also a self-proclaimed Odinist, but the defense is not allowed to talk about any of this. Brad and Logan were interviewed early on But just forget about that because those interviews are missing, and that's apparently none of our business. Anyway, this is him. Bridge guy is on the right for your convenience. And you can see this is Brad Holder, the father of the boy that we just saw in the picture that they said was the sketch of the person down by the mailboxes that day early in the morning. And he's sitting right beside Bridge guy. I apologize that I haven't clipped that and made it bigger. I was trying to gather information and had not had time. But you can see that there, and I think I can go over and show you his son again. I think that's what might be there. Let me see. Yep. Okay, so, and again, this is his son with Abby, their boyfriend and girlfriend. And again, that's his dad, who looks just like Bridge guy. And Logan is in the sketch of the boy by the mailboxes. Okay, they just muted it. Okay, now it's there. Okay, also, real quick, before I read this document, I will show you where I got it from. Hold on just a minute. So this is what it looks like when you go to the Discord. It's called As the Gavel Drops. And I pinned the link at the top, and you can go join their Discord and get all of the information. Like, there is so much information on there. All right, so I'm going to pull up this document, and we're going to read it. This document was filed by the defense, if I'm not mistaken. I know you can't see it, so give me just a second. And it talks about Elvis, the Elvis boy and Brad Holder, Elvis Fields, excuse me. Oop, wrong one. Hold on. Hold on just a minute. Okay. Now, in the background, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's them outside the courthouse, and I'm keeping a close eye on it. So this was filed October 30th, 2024 at 9:21 a.m. in the Carroll Circuit Court in Carroll County, Indiana. And it is the state of Indiana, Carroll County, state of Indiana, in this Carroll Circuit Court 1 case number, and it tells us that versus Richard Allen. And it says, this is the accused second motion to admit evidence of Odinism, Norse paganism, ritualistic unaliving, and also a motion to admit evidence concerning Elvis Fields and Brad Holder as third-party suspects. So again, it's not just like a conspiracy theory. They actually filed a motion on it. It states, come now the accused, Richard Allen, by and through counsel, and moves this court to admit certain evidence that this court has thus far has prevented the defense from presenting to the jury pursuant to its September 4th, 2024 order granting the state of Indiana's April 29th, 2024 motion in limine. I could be saying that wrong. In support of said motion, the defense states the following. I see you guys saying some stuff. I can't read it and read this at the same time. I see this about Elvis. Jennifer Hoff said Elvis also said supposedly that Abby was trouble, so he gave her horns. Think about that, because there were sticks above her head. It was like horns, very odd. That's a very good thing to point out. Thank you for that. I wonder if Brad and his son were involved too, Doc Bones. All right. So it states, on October 23rd, 2024, the defense has previously filed his first motion to admit evidence of Odinism, Norse paganism, and ritualistic unaliving. Number 2, since that motion was filed, additional evidence has been elicited through testimony and other evidence that further open the door to the admission of Odinism, Norse paganism, and ritualistic unaliving. Number 3, also, since that October 23rd, 2024 motion was filed, additional evidence has been elicited through testimony and other evidence that open the door for this defense to bring in evidence that third-party suspects Elvis Fields and Brad Holder were involved in the unaliving of the victims. Additional evidence admitting during the trial that supports the introduction of Odinism, Norse paganism, and ritualistic killing evidence. So it states, number 4, on Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024, forensic pathologist Core testified that possibly 2, possibly 3, possibly 4 instruments were used to cut the necks of Abigail William and Liberty German. that in his autopsy report, Dr. Kaur believed that some cuts may have involved the use of a serrated instrument and other cuts may have involved the use of a non-serrated instrument, providing the possibility that more than one person was involved in the markings. During the testimony, Dr. Kaur backtracked somewhat, but still did not exclude the possibility that the injuries to Abigail Williams and Liberty Williams, supposed to be in Liberty German, but it says Williams, were caused by both serrated and non-serrated instrument. Before I jump to number 5, this is a 10-page document that I'm going to read to you guys pertaining this case and trying to get. This is basically what the defense team filed to try to let them enter in this evidence. And again, this is from the Gavels. As the gavel drops, Discord, whose Discord link is posted at the top, is pinned. All right, back to the document. Also, since the trial began, the prosecution admitted certain crime scene photographs into evidence, including photographs of the crime scene in which the sticks on the girls were clearly visible to the jury, allowing the defense to ask questions concerning the sticks on the girls. Wanted to make sure I wasn't muted. Number 6, any competent trial lawyer would ask a variety of questions concerning the unusual way that the sticks were placed on the victims, and it would be ineffective for the trial lawyer to not ask questions concerning the sticks placed on the victims. Number 7, on Saturday, October 25th, 2024, Lieutenant Jerry Holman from the Indiana State Police testified on the following. Number A. I'm listening because they're talking in the background, but it's still just showing the people lined up outside the courthouse. Okay, A. On cross-examination, Lieutenant Holman testified that it was his belief that the sticks or branches found on the girls were used by the unaliver to conceal the bodies. B. On redirect, Prosecutor McLeland asked Lieutenant Holman if another reason that the sticks or branches were found on the girls was something called an, quote, undoing. And Lieutenant Holman responded, quote, yes. Number 8, through Dr. Kaur's testimony, it was determined that it is feasible that multiple people using multiple knives, supporting the defense theory that Odinism and Norse paganists were involved in the unalivings. Give me just a second. I'm going to mute this, but I have it on my phone so I can hear it because it's just like leaves rustling and things. I don't want it to be annoying. Hello, Maligator. Thank you for being here. Julie Jordan. Tabitha Fires, hello. If anybody else has entered while I'm reading this document, I apologize. And I want to say hey to you as well. I can't read the chat while I'm reading. Maligator says it's not a hung jury. They have a verdict. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think we're all nervous over here about that. Okay. Number 7. Yeah, I read number 6. Number 7. On Saturday, October 25th, 2024, Lieutenant Jerry Holman from the Indiana State Police testified to the following. Okay, we did that. Sorry, we're at number 8. Through Dr. Kaur's testimony, it was determined that it is feasible that multiple people using multiple knives supporting the defense theory that Odinist Norse paganism were involved in the murders. As Dr. Perlmutter testified on August 1st, 2024, knives are a classic sign of Odinism, Norse paganism culture, and that knives are classically used in ritualistic unalivings. 10. Dr. Kaur's testimony revealed that perhaps as many as 4 knives were used, and at least one of those knives may have been serrated, supporting the defense belief that multiple Norse paganists or Odinists using multiple knives were involved in the unalivings. Furthermore, upon reviewing the crime scene photos that have been admitted into evidence, there are no obvious drag marks to the naked eye, nor were there any police reports or charts that showed drag marks at the crime scene. Even blood splatter expert Pat Ceriso admitted that he could observe no drag marks on the crime scene photographs that he reviewed. The fact that there is no evidence of drag marks support that more than one person was involved in the unalivings, including 2 or more people needed to lift Liberty German's body, explaining why there was no drag marks from where she was unalived to where she was ultimately found, supporting the possibility that multiple Norse paganists or Odinists were present and participating in the unalivings. Keep in mind, this was filed by the defense. the day before Halloween this year. As it relates to Lieutenant Holman's testimony, when Lieutenant Holman answered yes when asked if another theory of why the sticks were on the bodies was because of something called an, quote, undoing, his testimony is yet another reason provided by the state of Indiana as to why sticks are on the girls. Abellis, thank you. Abellis just gifted 5 allegedly speculating memberships. If you guys got a membership, please tell her thank you. I'm going to play our new members clip. Thank you so much. To the new members, you now have access to all our cool little emojis. Thank you, Abellis. Maybe. If it wants to work. Okay, the news channel is talking, so I'm going to flip to them real quick. We'll continue reading this in just a second. Hold on a minute. I'll back it up. Hold on, I know you can't see it. I'm trying to get it pulled up. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll back it up a little bit so we can hear everything they're saying.
Good afternoon. I'm Anne Marie
Okay, there it
along
is.
with my colleague Samantha Johnson to my right and Emily Longnecker to my left. We are on verdict watch right now in downtown.
I'm gonna put it on 1.25 so we can catch up to where we need to be current in the time. Again, this is the local news station. They're at the courthouse right now.
Downtown Delphi. We got news. How long ago would you say, Emily?
40 minutes ago.
40 minutes ago that there had been a verdict in the case. Right now, we have seen some family members go back in the courthouse, but we haven't seen the suspect in this case, Richard Allen, yet.
Hey, Meso.
Not. In fact, I just walked down the street because we can usually see when he's been escorted in from the Cass County Jail. We have not seen him arrive here yet.
Okay, so we are keeping an eye for that. We know that's about maybe a 25, 30-minute trip. We think that he probably would have gotten notice, but just imagine what that's like for him to be coming here and to know that there could be a decision that forever changes how his life is going moving forward. We've got a lot of people here who are closely
Jennifer, is
watching
everything
this
okay?
case.
Jenny Jen,
Kind
my
of describe
lovely.
the scene a little bit, Emily, that we've seen here in these last. Now this is the day 4 of deliberations.
Well, I mean, most days, like we've seen throughout the trial, there are people camped out in front of the courthouse. Now, this is a little extra extraordinary because people know word has spread that a verdict has come in. So,
Hey, Julie Jordan, if I haven't said hey to you.
Cameras ready, lots of media. I mean, it definitely speaks to the interest in this case, the great interest in this case. There are people from all over the country that are here and that we have seen here throughout the trial, lots of different bloggers. And then you've had local folks, and you've seen that people sleeping out overnight just to see if they could possibly have a public spot inside that courtroom. Because
Trixie, I'm with you, love.
Each family has had 10 seats.
Hey, Sue Joy.
Has had 12 seats, and the rest, about 24, give or take, each day was open to the public. And so what you had was people standing in line, waiting outside this courthouse, sleeping.
Hey, Devin Williams in Oklahoma.
Once the courthouse opened,
Oklahoma.
getting a public seat just to even hear a little bit of the testimony, whichever day it was.
Yeah. So Samantha, you were one of our 3 staff members who was able to be in the courtroom at times. Kind of describe that room, describe that scene, what you have seen.
Well, thank you, Sue Joy.
In being in there.
One thing that always stands out to me is
there's a lot of shade
day to day, and I say that in reference to the families. All of the families impacted by this, of course, the families of Abigail Williams and Liberty Dermott, but also the families of Richard Allen.
I agree,
Typically,
toxic.
Early on in the hearings, we would only see maybe Richard Allen's wife and his mom there, right? But this week, as this case draws to a close, we have seen rows full of family members for all 3 of the people impacted.
Hey, it's a
I think
muffins.
it's important to mention too. We've talked about the folks.
I like your
gathering on the
name.
sidewalk, and really starting Friday morning.
Thank you for being here. It's a muffins.
Folks
I love
gathered
that. That's
and
awesome.
50 plus signs.
Yes,
supporting
Devin.
Abby and Libby,
Hers for
supporting
everybody.
Richard Allen. We've seen signs for all sides of this case. I just walked back through, and people are already holding up those signs because they know a verdict could come really at any minute now, and they're ready. We're ready. We are just steps, of course, from the courthouse. Like we mentioned, Bob Siegel is inside, and we know that at any minute
we could know the verdict in this case. That's
Okay,
7.5
Michelle, thank you.
years, almost 8 years in the making.
Yes. And as Emily's been talking about extensively in her reporting, that the family has said, this is the day, this is the day, this is the day, hoping that this would be the day. And now finally, this is the day. This is the day where we will know what the jury has decided. Let's
They
talk a little
did,
bit about
Anders.
that jury. They're from Allen County. There were 16 people who were originally selected to be on that panel. And then it was one alternate.
I've got it speeding up, so it's going to go back to normal, and it'll sound like they're talking slow. I just wanted to let you know. Yeah, I can't make it louder, Stephanie. I was just trying. It's low. I don't know why. I've got it turned all the way up. Anders, they did talk about how her hands were clean and up in like a fighting position under her hoodie.
Didn't return from lunch, and we're told on the third day the only detail about that is it might have been something personal or family related. And so then we've had 15 jurors. The jurors, 15 remain, 8 women, 4 men, and 3 female alternates. And they have been deliberating since they got that closing arguments that were made on Thursday. And they deliberated Thursday for about 2 hours before then resuming on Friday and then coming back on Saturday. We added up until about 1 o'clock today, about 19 and a half hours of deliberations. And they had a lot of things to go through.
I don't
when you
either,
add up
Devin.
all of the exhibits, all of the witnesses, all of the testimony, and also the fact that it was contradictory. It wasn't a lot of agreement about the cartridge, about the video, about the voice, about.
Please consider hitting the thumbs up. It helps us get out into the algorithm. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Who was the bridge guy? Just not a lot of agreement there. And so that's really what this panel has been forced to process. Who did we believe? What seems to be the most plausible beyond a reasonable doubt?
And when you think about it, they have to come to a unanimous decision. This only happens if they all have a unanimous decision. So imagine 12 different people, 12 different experiences in life, 12 different perspectives, experiences, expertise that they might bring to the table. And they all have been sitting in a room together discussing 387 exhibits, the testimony of 64 witnesses. They took copious notes, many of them during the trial. We saw them taking a lot of notes. They would come in every day with thick binders, but they had to, in these deliberations, they could refer to their notes, but they also had to just go from memory and their notes. They weren't allowed to see transcripts of what people talked about during the testimony. So it was all their memory and all their notes.
Which is really interesting, because I remember in some of your original reporting, Emily, that you were talking about there were some people that were coming in with binders. You could tell they had taken very detailed notes, and other people didn't at all. And then you wonder, and we've even seen it here in the media pool, the notes that come out are there's some differences between what people thought was important to emphasize and to detail. And so perhaps your notes are a little bit different than another juror's notes. I know that you've been on a jury before. You've had to deliberate. You know what it's like when there's a strong personality or a strong holdout. Walk us through that a little bit.
I mean, again, everyone has to come to a unanimous consensus. They pick a jury foreman, of somebody that kind of runs the proceedings back there. And, in my case, it was a domestic violence case. We took a straw vote ahead of time, and then we just went piece by piece discussing the evidence. In the situation that I was in, it was in Marion County. Not tons of exhibits to go through, but enough. But when you think about 387 exhibits, I've been thinking about that, how long that takes to just go over and just discuss it. Everyone likes to have their viewpoint heard, and people go back and forth, and there's sometimes healthy debate. And again, I guess I will keep saying it. It is, I think, hard to get 12 people to agree on something, especially in a case, I would say, as complicated as this one.
Yes, very, very much so.
And I think one thing we can say for certain about this
Sheila
jury
said
is that,
hush
like you
train.
alluded to, Emily, they're very intelligent and have asked very intelligent questions. There was concern, obviously, early on when we were to the point of needing to select a jury. Can we find 12 jurors who aren't aware of this case, who are unbiased, like you mentioned, coming out of Allen County? But we have been so impressed each day by some of the questions that they've been able to formulate, really to both sides.
And whenever they make a decision, they don't have to discuss it, and they don't have to discuss the reasons why. They don't know any explanation. I mean, that's part of the rules. That is, part of the instructions. The decision has to be unanimous. The reasonable doubt can come from evidence or a lack of evidence in this case. So think about that.
Well, we've been trying to interpret what does a verdict at this time or not a verdict at that time mean. Does that mean that they're leaning one way or another? And, we've been told time and time again, every jury is different. Every panel is different. Every case is different. And as much as you would like to say there's a science that, because of this timing, that it's more likely that. We just won't know. We just have to be patient for that. We do know that it really has been something for this jury to be sequestered. If you think about it, they don't live in this community. It's been 29 days since they reported for jury duty. So we are coming up on almost a month, 26 days that they've been sequestered from their families. They've been staying in a hotel. We know about 19 and a half hours that they've been deliberating. And so now the question will be when they come out of this, what is the decision that they made? And are they going to be open and interested in talking about that? What were those discussions like? We might know, and we may never know.
Yeah, and I mean, if you know, in those jury instructions, they talk about if there's a real possibility that Richard Allen is not guilty, if there's a real possibility in their minds, they have to give him the benefit of the doubt and go for not guilty if there is a real possibility that they consider that he is not guilty. So pretty heavy burden of proof for the state.
It's a big responsibility.
It's big.
All signs were that the jury took it seriously
Yes.
and understand that this is someone, if they're convicted of all the charges, that could get up to 130 years in prison. This is a man who is married, who has a daughter and a son-in-law in this community, who worked at CVS. He certainly does have supporters. Then there's also the people who are supporting the families of the two girls that were out on a hike in February on what was a beautiful day for February 13th of 2017, went missing and never came home. Who's responsible? We'll find out. Perhaps when we hear this from this verdict from the jury, we'll bring it to you. In the meantime, reporting for our entire team here, Bob Siegel, who's in the courtroom, Emily Longnecker, Samantha Johnson, and all the people that are working behind the scenes that you can't see. I'm Anne Marie Tiernan. We're gonna send it back to you, and we'll cut in later when we have more information.
Okay, so I assume they're just gonna be showing the people outside of the courtroom. Again, I'm watching it on my phone. Like as you saw, I just pulled it up as soon as I knew they were talking. So I'll mute this. I've got it on my phone right here beside the laptop, and I'll continue reading this document. Let me get it pulled back up. I hope, I mean, to be honest, to put my feelings about it out there, I hope that he's found not guilty. Honestly, I just think there's too many other things to worry about. As far as other possible suspects. Okay, let me close out this other stuff now that y'all can see this. I'm keeping the YouTube up to watch the news channel and make sure, and I've also got it on my phone right here beside me. So don't worry, we're not going to miss anything. I've got it. I'm making sure we stay on it. They're just, again, showing the people outside of the courthouse. Okay. So I think we were on number 14. I'll go back and read number 13 just to remind us of where we were at. It says, as it relates to Lieutenant Holman's testimony, when Lieutenant Holman answered yes when asked if another theory or why the sticks were on the bodies was because of something called a, quote, undoing, his testimony is yet another reason provided by the state of Indiana as to why the sticks are on the girls. The questioning of the prosecution and the answer of Lieutenant Holman pertained to yet another explanation of an undoing as to why the sticks were found on the girls, and therefore the prosecution opened the door to the defense's alternative theory as to why the sticks were found on the girls. The defense has its own theory as to why the sticks are on the girls, and Richard Allen has a Sixth Amendment right to provide that theory to rebut the state of Indiana's theories, including the prosecution's latest theories that the sticks are related to a, quote, undoing. We need to find out what an undoing is. Additionally, there's sirens. There's sirens pulling up that I can hear on the news station where the people are standing outside. So Richard Allen might be pulling up now. But it's not showing anything but them standing outside. Additionally, blood spatter per expert Pat Ceriso opened and or the prosecution led the jury to believe through questioning that Liberty German was moved to her final resting place to conceal the body. The prosecution's line of questioning of Pat Cereso was pursued by the prosecution on direct examination and opened the door to the defense, offering alternative theories as to why the body was placed in its final resting place and why the sticks were placed on the girls. The defense theory is that Liberty German and Abigail Williams' final resting place was related to Norse paganism, Odinism, and a ritualistic unaliving. Number 18. Richard Allen has a Sixth Amendment right to present its theory of why the victim's body was placed in its final resting place and why sticks/branches were placed on her body. The defense believes that both Liberty's and Abigail's bodies were placed there because of the desire of Odinus to pose the body and to form sticks on the body in an arrangement for reasons only understood by the person or people that unalived these victims. Dr. Perlmutter has testified as to how the sticks would only have meaning to people who were involved in these unalivings. We're on number 20. I'll check the chat. Hey, Indie Girl. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I heard the sirens. Thank you, Jen, for the trigger warning. All right, back to the document. They're still just showing the people outside. Oh, I had to down that. Okay. Number 20. Additionally, the defense expert, Dr. Dawn Perlmutter, indicated in the August 1st, 2024 hearing that the arrangement of sticks was not by the unaliver or unalivers to provide dignity to the victims. Hallmarks of an undoing might be closing the eyes and mouth of the victims. In this case, the girls' mouths and eyes were open, and one victim was displayed in the nude and in an undignified manner. This would be inconsistent with an undoing. The defense should have the opportunity to explain what it believes an undoing is an undoing and how the crime scene does not exhibit an undoing. Now we're on evidence introduced before and during the trial that supports the introduction of third-party suspects Elvis Fields and Brad Holder. So, number 21. On Saturday, October 25th, 2024, Lieutenant Holman was asked a question about how many people were involved in the unalivings of the victims. Lieutenant Holman offered that only one person was involved in the unalivings. And offering that only one person was involved in the unalivings, Lieutenant Holman offered the following. As part of his reason for believing that only one person was involved in the murkings is that based on his training and experience, when more than one person is involved in a crime, there is often a point in time when one of the participants will discuss the crime or reveal the crime. Whereas when it's only one person, it's much easier to contain that secret. That was Lieutenant Holman's theory that supported his belief that only one person committed the unalivings. Number 24. Since September 18th, 2023, the defense has consistently maintained the evidence supports that Elvis Fields was a participant in the unalivings along with Brad Holder and others. According to Lieutenant Holman's theory, as testified under oath on October 25th, 2024, if it is true that Elvis Fields and Brad Holder were both involved in the unalivings, then is it likely that one of them will have admitted to being involved in the unalivings or providing incriminating statements concerning being at the unalivings? Let me pull this up. They're cheering outside the courthouse. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to pull it up and we'll come back to this. Oh my goodness, there's people walking. Okay, now let me pull it up. Oh, lady, don't cry. They're saying guilty on all counts. What? Somebody just said that. I don't know if it's true yet. The news hasn't said it. What? Jules. Hey, Jules. Thank you for being here. Not a day for justice, I guess. Dawn Young brought up, hey Dawn, thank you for being here. Dawn Young says they saw more evidence than we did, which is true.
You know I gotta give you a hug, sweetheart. You know.
I'm sorry, Dawn. I was trying to highlight your comment, but I couldn't. Some people are leaving. Yeah, Normal. Some are. The news hasn't said guilty on all counts yet, but that's what they're hollering outside the courthouse. I hope not. God, I hope not. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Mama Sari, thank you for being here. Yeah, I was just saying they were out there screaming guilty on all counts. I haven't heard. This is the news station. They haven't verified that yet, but what? Wow. Sally Carson, thank you for being here. Oh my God. This is not right. They haven't even tested the set. Like, maybe he can get an appeal and they can test the hairs and prove that it's somebody else's DNA. I mean, we're just reading a document about how Elvis Fields and Brad Holder could possibly be suspects. That the defense was trying to get them to let them have in trial on October 30th, just 2 weeks ago. That document's only like 2 weeks old. Hey, Jesse Lynn. Thank you for being here. Time for an appeal, says Jesse Lynn. Yeah, I agree. Sarah said guilty and that they said guilty. They will definitely appeal. And Sarah Lee says agreed. Not a damn person wins. I agree. Jennifer Hoff said how awful. Right. Oh my God, this is horrible. Time for an appeal, said Jesse Lynn. Sheila says, yeah, I'm not okay. I'm sorry, love. I wish I could give you a hug. Jen Absolute, thank you for being here. Jen Absolute says, dirty small towns, Coburger is going to go the same way, betcha. Y'all. It just went down. Sorry. It's a muffin. It's a muffins says, rest in peace, Abby and Libby. And I agree. We need to remember the victims in this. But I mean, I think that Richard Allen was a victim as well. Stephanie said that's Rosie. Okay. Right. Jesse Lynn. Good point. Jesse Lynn said, just wait till the jurors get home and look up all the evidence that was inadmissible. Yeah. All of the things they're not allowed to see yet. If they look that up. Oh, hold on. Let me get it back live again. Sorry. I wanted to make sure we were live. Oh my God. Yeah, they didn't see what we see in this case. And thank you for pointing that out, bad girl. That's a great point. They didn't get to see what we saw. Like, I was just putting myself in the position of the jurors. Like, if I said this man was guilty and then got home and looked up all the evidence, oh, I don't know if I'd be able to live with myself. Oh my God. Cheryl Hutton, thank you for being here. Jennifer says sad day. Jennifer Hall. Yeah, Gold can suck it. Trying to pull up what Sarah said here. Sarah Lee said, luckily, it seems as if Alan was not in his right state of mind. Hopefully, he doesn't grasp what's going on. Oh, man. Oh, man. Hey, David McBride. Third victim, right. I agree. I'm sorry, I said your name wrong. David Wallenwright. Thank you for being here. Jules said, no, the jurors will pat themselves on the back regardless. How else will they sleep at night? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, like they were saying in chat, we have more evidence and we've seen more evidence than they have, but man. Jennifer says, poor Kathy, right? Boy said his confessions are what got him. Yeah, I think so. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say. Mama Sari said the jurors have to sleep with themselves at night. Yeah. That is a haunting train, Liddy. That girl said the devil is dancing tonight. Yeah, the devil's not in Georgia tonight. He's in Indiana. They're getting ready to talk. Some of the jurors will speak out and tell us why they decided what they did. I hope so. Jennifer Hobbs said we should all send cards to Kathy so she realizes the support she has. That is a great idea. If I could find her address, I would get cards together to send to her. That's a great idea. I'll have to look into that, Jennifer. David says appeal. Absolutely. Jen Absolute said truly disheartening all the way around, for sure. Sarah says you're right. Sheila says, damn it, that train. Okay, let me, sorry, yeah, let me give you guys the link. I apologize. Hold on just a minute. There you go. Anders is completely baffled, right? I am too. Like, I don't even know what to say. Oh, goodness gracious. Hold on. Hey, Zio. You're here,
Hey,
love.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. I don't know what just happened. Hold on. I'll get it pulled up. Okay. I think it's switching to where they're going over the verdict. Hold on, my computer's being.
You're good. I put the link for you in the back chat.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, okay, they're talking.
That were located close by, they were not able to get that evidence in. So I think that the defense did a great job. The state did
Hold
a
on,
good
that's not
job.
the one I have. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to.
I think what the defense was trying to do in this case was set up an appeal. And in every instance where they were filing motions, where they were objecting to evidence coming in or trying to bring in evidence.
Hold on, y'all. I'm going to get the news pulled up where they go over the verdict.
They were laying basically a case for
if my computer will work.
An appellate court to overturn.
Hold on, y'all. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to pull up the news station that they're going over it now, and we'll watch that real quick. We know what the verdict is, so it's not like we're missing anything, really. This is the one I was trying to do. I'm going to take it back just a little bit and put it on 1.25 so that we can catch up to live.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I'll just leave it like it is. Like it jumped over to this. Yeah, they're saying guilt. It says at the bottom, guilty on all charges. All right. I'm sorry, Zio. I'm just trying to get this figured out real quick.
No. You're okay.
My kids are being crazy.
Yes, I'm Scott Swan in the Channel 13 studios. We've got
Playing in the
breaking news
background.
coming out of Carroll County this afternoon. We have learned
Yeah,
there is
they're
a
outside.
verdict
The windows
in
open.
the Delphi murders case, and we've got a crew.
It's just changing it where it's not
Case,
blurry.
and we've got a crew on the scene just outside the Delphi courthouse. Anne Marie Tiernan joins me live to tell us what you know at this hour. Anne?
Was that link for the verdict that you put in the back chat?
So
Scott,
they're
Bob
not
just
they're not
stepped
showing
outside of
anything
the court.
live. They're just showing
Okay.
outside right now, and then they show him leaving the courthouse in about 5 minutes.
Okay. All right.
The
Thank you for
verdict
that.
only took. It says the verdict only took 2 minutes, and they haven't shown inside the court.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Verdict was read. We're told it took less than 2 minutes. Bob, explain the scene, everything you've learned.
So, and it was, 2 minutes. Guilty, 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 and
Oh my
guilty. All
God.
4 counts against Richard Allen. Jurors came back. Obviously, it must be unanimous. The judge asked the defense team if they wanted to pull the jurors. The defense team did. So we got to hear every one of the
Eek, if you
jurors
left,
say
I
that
love you,
indeed
hon.
was their verdict. Again, guilty on felony murder of Abby Williams, guilty felony murder of Libby German, guilty murder of knowingly or intentionally killing Abby, and guilty murder knowingly or intentionally killing Libby. Richard Allen sat emotionless. He did not show any emotion during the verdict as it was read. The defense counsel, specifically Andrew Baldwin, was sitting right next to him. He had his arm around Richard Allen at that time. He was rubbing the back of his head.
NG Lynn, thank you for being here. Says hugs for everyone. Jules says unanimous, except if you disagree, we send you back to deliberate until you change your mind, right? Abellis, I hope not. I hope that I'm praying for appeal. Like, I really hope that we get an appeal soon. Oh my God. Horrible.
The families, the judge made it very clear that she wanted everyone to remain respectful, no outbursts in the courtroom, and there were not.
Right,
But
Sheila,
the
they
families
weren't.
of Abby and Libby certainly
Yes,
were
Basil.
overcome with emotion. Becky Patty, that's Libby's grandmother.
Toxic says that sentencing is set for December 20th, and I trust that person. So if you guys want to jot that down, you can. We should get sentencing on December 20th.
She was clutching
Oh,
her
God.
husband Mike's arm.
Me too, Doc.
When the verdict came in, right in the front row, Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter. He
I
put
hope
his
not, bad
hands.
girl.
He put his head down into his hands. He began crying. Again, it took less than 2 minutes for the main part of all of this to play out. And at the end of it, the judge thanked the jurors for their service. She thanked the attorneys for what she said was a well-argued case on both sides. Richard Allen was led away in handcuffs. And at that point, after he left the room, after the judge left the room, after the jurors left the room, that's when we really saw the emotion. That's when we saw, again, Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter. He reached back and he held on tightly to
Jennifer.
Libby's grandmother's hand.
I know it's tough. You've been watching these families. It's emotional for everybody involved. The families sharing to you that when they saw some of the testimony.
David Wainwright says, how can we contribute to the Appeal Defense Fund? I'm not sure, honey. Maybe try to look up the attorneys, Rosie, and I don't remember what the other ones were, and call their office and ask them would be my advice.
And some of the evidence in the case and hearing the voice
of
a
Sheila.
loved one that they haven't heard for 7.5 years. I mean, this has been very, very difficult. We did see outside when the news broke, Emily, quite an outburst here along the streets.
Yeah, there was a lot of cheering, guilty.
Okay, Sheila.
Guilty. You saw some people
and Jenny
and rushing away.
Everybody, if you got to go, understand.
That I've
I'm
seen,
sending hugs.
sitting with the Allen family throughout the trial. He walked out very swiftly and very quietly, and I kind of perked up to see him
And I thought, what's that about? And then the next thing you know, here was the pool reporter coming out with all of the charges. But yeah, loud out here, people cheering. There was a lot for this jury to consider, Bob. We were adding it up. We kind of got 19 or 20 hours of deliberations is what we think is probably a pretty close estimate to going through all that evidence, all the witness testimony, which frankly was very contradictory. And they were able to sort through that. But this resounding, we had talked about the possibility perhaps of there being a split in this verdict, maybe the knowing and
Hey, Amy Quinn, and thank you for being here. Amy says he needs to appeal, and I agree.
Intentional would maybe not be something given the evidence that the jury thought that they would be able to say beyond a reasonable doubt, but that all proved not to be the case.
Not the case. And the jury did.
Hey, we can write letters to his wife if we find the address, and we could write letters to him in jail. Like if anybody wants to do that, to let him know he has support. And again, if you want to try to support their legal fund, call their law office. It's going to be somewhere in Indiana. I don't know where, but that would be my advice on those type of things. If anybody was wondering, I've seen a couple of you talk about it in chat.
I believe that obviously the confessions moved the jury. That was the most powerful evidence we saw, I think, throughout this entire verdict. And I think that was something that
right, Abelis?
Jurors in this situation. And it appears that they also believed the physical evidence that the state presented, tying Richard Allen to the scene.
That cartridge.
What physical evidence? There was no physical evidence. You compared a cartridge of a spent bullet to an unspent bullet. Stop it. Doc Bones says, just think the unalivers still could be out there. I think they are. They are. And after we watch this, I'm going to continue reading that document. And I think it gives us a lot more insight. I'm hoping on appeal that they can enter that evidence because they weren't allowed to get that motion put in.
Right? Yeah. Cartridge. I'm curious to know what the faces of the juries, were they stoic? Were they, did they look at anyone?
To be honest, Emily, I was looking directly at Richard Allen, and I was trying to look at the families. We should mention a sentencing date has been set. So December 20th is when Richard Allen will be sentenced. And during the sentencing portion of the verdicts being read today, this was after the verdicts were read, but at that point, Richard Allen turned around. It was the first emotion that we saw. He looked at his wife, Kathy, and he said, "Are you okay?"
So I will look up like how to put money on his commissary, how to send him letters, and see what I can find on all of that stuff. And I'll make a community post in case anybody wants to do that. I would like to help put out their information. Please don't, like, if you see a YouTuber saying they're going to take stuff, I would be really careful with that. I would try to do it directly, and I'll work on getting links and information for anybody that wants to do that. And when I can find that stuff, I'll make a community post. So make sure you check the community tabs.
Okay. Kathy was crying. Richard Allen's mother was in court. She was crying. Again, as things started to clear out, Jerry Holman, Indiana State Police detective, who has been on this case for multiple years, he went over and he hugged the defense team and he kissed Nick McLeland, the prosecutor. There were a lot of hugs on the side of the prosecution. Again, after the families were starting to leave, we were asked to stay in the courtroom to give the families the chance to file out. The families went up to the prosecution team, shook hands, hugged as well. So a lot of emotion. Again, everyone kind of kept things in check while the jury was in there, while the judge was in there afterward. That's when we saw the emotion really starting to let out.
This is the day, Emily, and
Today
we've
is
heard
the
the family say this is the day many, many times, but now finally this is the day for justice for the families of Libby and Abby.
Yeah, I can hear them saying it. Today is the day. They would say it so many times over the years, and to be here.
It
in this
is
moment,
WD-40.
I have
Thank you for
goosebumps
being here.
considering it and thinking
today is the day for them. Today is the day for Abby and Libby and their families, the people that love them. There's no doubt that this legally was, in many ways, if you looked at outside observers, says there's just a circus going on there. I mean, there was just no love lost between the defense and the prosecution and the judge in this case. Often after we hear a verdict, then we hear, well, there will be an appeal. Any word.
Amy Quinn says the jury didn't want any backlash if they didn't convict him. And, you know, bringing up that judge's wife we saw, where her and her daughter were unalived in a house fire. And then I was just looking into the Florida fires as well. There seems to be a lot going on in that town that are questionable. And of course, the court has access to the names of the jurors and where they live, etc. So, I mean, that's very possible that they could be worried about their own lives if they came back with a verdict of not guilty. It's possible.
Any talk about that? Walk us through those steps as we count down to sentencing, where at last report I had read that Richard Allen could get up to 130 years in prison if convicted of all the charges. Is that consistent with what you've been finding?
Well, I if I remember correctly, I think it's 46 years on the main counts, and whether those are going to be concurrent, whether those are going to be consecutive, there will be a pre-sentence report that will be filed that the judge will consider at the sentencing hearing. The judge will hear from both the prosecutor and from the defense to try to mitigate as far as either how lengthy or how short the sentence will be. So again, the judge is the one who's going to decide what the sentence is going to be. And to your point regarding an appeal, we pretty much, that's almost a certainty. There was certainly.
We know that she's going to throw the book at him. Hey, Shirley Roth, and thank you for being here. Shirley Roth says, let's face it, when they don't get all the facts, of course, I am sure the judge made them go back to decide. We do not know unless a juror comes forward, right? And they weren't given all of the evidence, and that was my biggest issue. Like, if you see all of the evidence, everything, and you think he's guilty, then I'm going to say, okay, maybe he did it. But when you're not even given all the evidence and it's not allowed to be talked about in court, I have a big issue.
A lot of evidence that the defense wanted to enter into this case that they were not allowed to, that Judge Gall told them that she did not think that they had enough of a link between some of the things that they wanted to bring in and the actual crime. Mm-hmm. So the defense most certainly will be filing an appeal in this case, and it will go to the Indiana Court of Appeals.
And Bob, would they file that after he is sentenced?
It's a good question. I don't know that. I'll be interested to hear that from Katie Jackson Lindsay, right, as far as the timing of how all that plays out. But I believe it probably would take place after the sentence.
Because listen, there was a handful of people that this defense team believed in their alternate theory was responsible in this crime, and they wanted to be able to talk about that to the jury. Again, as you said, Judge Gall ruled no, that's not going to happen, that would confuse the jury, and we're going to stick with these set of facts right here, and that's what they did. Richard Allen was arrested and has been in custody since October of 2022, so 2 years served. Part of the testimony in this case is that was a very difficult time, especially when he was in solitary confinement. Having a mental breakdown was part of the argument, even part of the testimony that we're trying to determine whether or not he had developed some sort of psychosis. So that's another thing that will be taken into consideration in the sentencing as well for those 2 years since he's been here in custody, state custody, since 2022.
Yeah, all those things will be a factor. And there are multiple items that the defense will want to bring up on appeal, whether they were allowed to enter certain things that the judge did not allow them to, witnesses that they wanted to bring, evidence that they wanted to show the jury that they were not able to. So, and even the procedural moves that happened long ago, dating back here over the last year in this case, things that Judge Gall ruled on, those will all be brought up, and all of those things were preserved on the record by the defense team, so that when this case does go to the Court of Appeals, those will be considered. But again,
there's no difference in yesterday and today now.
Today, guilty. That is the verdict.
What do you mean?
Yeah, there's a guilty verdict, but we still have the same belief. Well, in my opinion, or in my, my belief, that he was innocent to begin with. So yeah, they're going to go through the appeals process, and then we're going to spend another year 2, 3, 4 going through this, this trip.
I get.
This is going to go on forever.
Yeah.
It's just sad. I'm
Yeah.
just sad.
I'm sad too. And I'm hoping that Richard Allen makes it. Like, I think we should definitely try to let him know, and other people should try to let him know how much support he has, so that he don't don't give up.
At that same time, I'm looking at these girls' families, and my heart is broken for them too, because if they had any reasonable doubt and he was found guilty, they're not getting justice. And if they thought he was guilty and he isn't, they're not getting any justice. There's absolutely no winners here. None.
Right.
And so much we don't know until if any of us are able to even get, to FOIA the discovery and things like that, there's just still going to be so much we don't know. And it's going to be so expensive to do that.
Yep. I'm going to play a little bit more of this, and then I'm going to continue reading the document that they were trying to get into evidence, and we're not allowed to. This is devastating.
Go to the end of it. They're doing a live press conference.
Okay. And on this one or in the private chat?
No, go in the one you're in now, about a minute back.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, they're fixing to go to live press conference.
Praying.
Yeah, they were.
Praying. I said,
Could be lying.
We usually had 4 or 5 of us. Just a few
No, you're good.
signs to show respect to the girls and what this community has went through for the past 7.5 years. Today is a new day. Today is that day, the day they can start healing. Today's that day that those families can start the healing process. This part is done. So as a community, now they get to heal all together. This community and the surrounding communities and counties surrounded them. Also, big shout out
I
to
can
law
hear it. Can you not
enforcement.
hear it?
It came from everywhere around Indiana. You couldn't tell
I'm trying to
what
see.
department, but they were so cohesive together. They blended well.
I can hear it in the live.
You didn't see the division in the rank or anything. They protected this county, and now this county needs to heal.
Keisha, maybe go back out and come back in.
And the entire prosecution team, there's been countless hours put in by state police and the investigators who, not just over the last 2 years since the arrest, but obviously for the 5.5 years even before that, from the day that these girls' bodies were found, that have been working tirelessly on this case. So for Indiana State Police and the investigators who've worked on this case, obviously, I don't know if victory is the correct word today, because nothing is going to bring back Abby and Libby. But as far as justice, this was the verdict they were looking for, and these were the words that they hoped Judge Gall would read after the jury came back this afternoon.
It was such a heinous crime. These girls were just in the 8th grade, and this heinous crime in this very rural, seemingly safe environment, that they went missing, and that they had been so brutally murdered. That's why this has gotten so much attention, not only in the state, in this country, but around the world. People following this case.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it so many times before this happened. This was that quaint little bedroom community where people really slept with their doors open, and they talked about that to us in those early days, after the girls' bodies were discovered. And after that, things really changed. And when you come here years later to do different follow-up stories before there had been a break in the case or an arrest, if you talk to the young people that had gone to school with Abby and Libby, they would tell you how their lives had changed, that their parents were less willing to just kind of let them go for a walk in the woods. And I was just kind of looking at the day today and the blue sky and the temperature, and I remember it being like that on February 13th. February 14th, the next day, very different. It was dark, it was freezing. When you're talking about Doug Carter and his involvement, I remember him coming in on the state police helicopter and getting out to give the press conference and talk about that. It landed in a field right across from the Mears entrance where the girls had got dropped off that day. And so when every time there was an update and a press conference, you would see Doug Carter come out and address the media and the public when they
they released that second sketch, him
They did,
saying, "I
Julie.
remember," and this made everyone's the hair on their arm stand up when he looked in the camera and said, "We believe you might be in this room hiding in plain sight. We believe you are in this community hiding in plain sight. You might even be in this room." And I remember that day, everyone kind of looked around at each other. So to hear Doug Carter, to hear his reaction in that courtroom, that tracks.
And I think it's one of the interesting things to point out here that was emphasized by prosecutor Nick.
I have it on 1.25 to catch up, but I'm not seeing them go to a press conference yet. We're waiting on that. Hello,
They're
Miss
not.
King of anything.
I was wrong.
Okay.
They're still standing there live. So I thought that's what that was when they were coming on. My apologies.
Oh no, you're good. I'll play this or I'll play a little bit more of it and I'll keep it on my phone and see if they're having a press conference. Hey, Miss King of anything, and thank you for being here. Miss King of anything says such a horrible crime. I would think they would have wanted a fair trial. Me too, and that's my biggest problem with this. That's my biggest problem with this. I'm gonna go ahead. I've got this on my phone and I'm watching it. So if we get a press conference, I will pull that
Nick
up.
McLeland during closing argument.
The state police.
Oh, hold on.
So that van, I think was a key part, wouldn't you say? Was driving a van, and it would have fit the timeline of when the state police say that bridge guy had taken the girls off the bridge. So that van, I think, was a key part, wouldn't you say?
I would love to
You
be
know.
inside the minds of those jurors. They listened to so much testimony. They reviewed so many exhibits. They got so much information, contradictory information from both sides. And it is possible. It is possible that we will have a chance to talk to some of the jurors later. But I would imagine many of them, if not most of them, if not all of them, would very much like to go back to their lives at this point. This has been a really long haul, 26 days sequestered away from their families. And
Okay, I just wanted to see. I think that white van was the big issue too. I think that kind of sealed the deal for him, was the white van thing. That very well could have been because of Dr. Walla. Hold on a minute. I'm getting this document pulled up. Okay. I'm going to continue reading this document. This is going to be the document that the defense was trying to get put into evidence on October 30th that points to other suspects. And again, this is from As the Gavel Drops. On Discord, I have pinned her link at the top. If you guys want to go join that Discord, there's a lot of documents there. Documents for like so many cases. And I was able to find this, and I haven't even read this yet. Hey, Amy. Amy says, Grizzly True Crime said judge told everyone gag orders still in place until December 20th. So probably no press conference. Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, Miss King of anything. We like it here. Our little speculating family. Oh, hold on. I just did something. Okay. So I'm going to continue reading this. I'm going to go back to number 24. I don't know if that was where I was at, but we'll continue. Again, this is the document that the defense was trying to get entered into evidence on October 30th. I'll put out a video where I'm just reading this. I can do that hopefully after the live and get that out for you guys. And check that Discord As the Gavel Drops to get it. Lots of good information. So it says, since September 18th, 2023, the defense has consistently maintained that evidence supports that Elvis Fields was a participant in the Red Rooms along with Brad Holder and others. According to Lieutenant Holman's theory, as testified to under oath, October 25th, 2024, if it is true that Elvis Fields and Brad Holder were both involved in the unalivings, then it is likely that one of them will have admitted to being involved in the unalivings or providing incriminating statements concerning the unalivings. Evidence exists that supports the defense contention that multiple people were involved in the unalivings, and also supports Lieutenant Holman's theory that if multiple people are involved in a crime, that at least one of them will reveal the crime to others. For example, blood spatter expert Pat Ceriso testified that it is possible that both girls were unalived at the same time, which would indicate that more than one person was involved in the crime. Additionally, Pat Ceriso also admitted that one explanation for Abby having no blood on her hands is that while her neck was being cut, someone else held her hands down. Trigger warning. Sorry about that, you guys. Heavy trigger warning. Law enforcement conducting the investigation into the Red Rums have interviewed one suspect, Elvis Fields, who asked inculpating questions to a state trooper, and B, has connections to those who have incriminating evidence on their social media, as well as a direct connection to one of the victims. Therefore, evidence exists that multiple people were involved in the unalivings, rendering all purported alibis as suspect due to the ability for the ringleader to claim an alibi while others are doing his bidding in terms of abducting the victims. Think Marilyn Manson. I said Marilyn Manson. That's not it. Charles Manson. How he was the ringleader and then he got them to go commit the murders. That's kind of what they're referencing here. Number 31, Brad Holder's first alibi, for example, would allow him to be in Delphi no later than 2:30, perhaps earlier, while Elvis Fields and others abducted the victims and held them awaiting Holder. In 2018, law enforcement pulled Elvis Fields in for questioning to the Rushville Police Department, and at the end of the interview took Elvis's DNA and then explained to Elvis their reason for taking his DNA. At the conclusion of the interview, Trooper Kevin Murphy drove Elvis back to his home. After Trooper Murphy dropped Elvis off at Elvis's home, Elvis walked towards his home, then turned around and approached Kevin Murphy's car. After getting close to Trooper Murphy's vehicle, Elvis asked Trooper Murphy, "If my spit is found on one of the girls, but I have an explanation for it, would I still be in trouble?" Wow. Wow. DNA analysis Stacey Bozinski testified at the end of her cross-examination on October 28, 2024, that a person's spit can be analyzed for DNA. Additionally, the evidence exists that supports that Elvis Fields was mimicking Brad Holder's, who lived 125 plus miles away and should have no ties to Elvis Fields' Facebook post, or that Brad Holder was mimicking Elvis Fields' Facebook post months before the victims were abducted. Elvis Fields has claimed under oath that Brad Holder was actually mimicking Facebook posts that Elvis Fields had posted. Brad Holder's son, Logan, was dating Abby Williams, and Brad Holder had evidence that exhibited Holder's knowledge of a crime scene on his social media that no one else should know. Meanwhile, 125 miles away, Elvis Fields, who seemingly would have no reason to know Brad Holder even existed, A, followed Brad Holder on Facebook, mimicking his post, or vice versa, and B, was making statements that inculpate him as to being involved in the unalivings, including the expectation of the possibility that Elvis's spit, might be found on the girls. However, this would not be surprising based on Lieutenant Holman's October 26, 2024 testimony that when multiple people are involved in a crime, someone will ultimately reveal the crime. Additionally, evidence from Brad Holder's social media supported the concept that others assisted him in committing the unalivings and moving the bodies, as Holder posted a meme on his Facebook page days after the girls were unalived, and the theme and words from that meme have become more important due to the testimony that has been elicited during the trial. According to blood spatter expert Pat Ceriso, Liberty German's 200-pound body was, in fact, moved from one location to another. 41, also pursuant to the blood spatter expert Pat Ceriso, there were no drag marks that could be seen on the crime photo. 42, therefore, evidence supports that Libby's body was moved from one location to another and that two or more people would have been needed. Sorry, I was trying to scroll down. To carry the body, since no drag marks existed. Certainly, it would be highly unlikely that one man could accomplish this task. On February 17th, 2017, 3 days after the unalivings, Brad Holder posted these words on his Facebook page: "You real ones don't judge. Your real ones don't judge you or ask a bunch of questions. They help you move the body and never speak of it again. Emphasis added. The fact that Brad Holder had content on his social media that mimics the crime scene, unknown to the public at that time, and additionally that he posted words concerning how real friends would help him move a body, supports the theory that Brad Holder and others were involved in the unalivings. The fact that Brad Holder was told multiple stories about whether he had ever met Abby Williams, ranging from he never met her to he met her one time to he met her 2 times, along with all other evidence provided in Frank's memo, supports that third-party suspect evidence should be made admissible. Additionally, the evidence, I'm at number 45. Oh, sorry, I was reading the comments real quick. Additionally, the evidence previously provided to the court. Oh my gosh. Stop it. What am I doing? Okay. Additionally, the evidence previously provided to this court in the Franks memo, as well as admitted into evidence on August 1st, 2024, provided proof that Elvis Fields did not have an alibi that could be substantiated, but quite the opposite. Elvis Fields' alibi is sketchy, as his version of his whereabouts on April 13th, 2017 runs counter to those who allegedly were with him on that day. In other words, no one could keep their story straight about Elvis's whereabouts on February 13th, 2017. Lieutenant Holman's October 26, 2024 testimony leaves the jury under the mistaken belief that no evidence exists that multiple persons were involved in the unalivings and that no other suspects have made any statements that inculpates them into the crimes, thus supporting Lieutenant Holman's theory that when multiple people are involved in a crime, at least one of them will ultimately reveal the crime. 47. At the time of his October 26, 2024 testimony, Lieutenant Holman was fully aware that the evidence existed that Elvis Fields made inculpatory statements concerning being present at the scene at the time and that the victims were unalived. 48. At the time of his October 26, 2024 testimony, Lieutenant Holman was fully aware that evidence existed that Elvis Fields of Rushville, Indiana, had a connection with Brad Holder from Logansport, Indiana, and in fact said evidence produced from law enforcement investigation showed that Brad Holder and Elvis Fields were mimicking one another on Facebook. At the time of his October 26, 2024 testimony, Lieutenant Holman was fully aware that evidence existed that Brad Holder's son, Logan, dated Abby Williams. At the time of his October 26, 2024 testimony, Lieutenant Holman was fully aware that Brad Holder had evidence on his social media consistent with signatures left behind at the scene of the crime, including a mimicked crime scene photograph that looked eerily similar to the way that the bodies were posed on the ground of the woods and photographs of sticks laid down on the ground and a similar pattern of sticks found on Abby's body in the form of a hand-drawn pattern on the wrist of Brad Holder, among other incriminating items, including a post about real friends helping to move bodies. This is insane. I hope that they get another trial. This is crazy. I'm going to put out a video where I just read this for you guys and try to reference some of the posts and the pictures that, like the stuff I just showed you where we saw Abby and that boy together and all of this. This is crazy. Toxic Orchard said gag order is still in effect until after the sentencing on December 20th, I have been told. Yeah. So I'm thinking that we're not going to get a press conference today. Oh, Bad Girl says they claim all the jurors' heads were down and not one looked at anybody. Wow. Okay, so we got this page and one more after this. I'm going to continue reading this. Doc Bones says Richard Allen is a scapegoat. Yeah, I think so. Okay, at the end of his testimony, Lieutenant Holman was aware. Okay, sorry. At the time of his testimony, Lieutenant Holman was aware that Odinist or Norse paganists had been investigated as being involved in the unalivings. At the time of his testimony, Lieutenant Holman was aware that both Brad Holder and Elvis Field possessed knives and that Brad Holder used knives as part of his Odinism religion. At the time of his testimony, Lieutenant Holman was aware, or should have been aware, that Brad Holder possessed a .40 caliber handgun. At the time of his testimony, Lieutenant Holman was aware, or should have been aware, that Brad Holder's .40 caliber handgun was never collected test fired, or compared to the bullet allegedly found at the crime scene. Number 55 says, therefore, the jury has been misled into believing that law enforcement's only available evidence only supports that only one person was involved in the crime, when Lieutenant Holman's own words on the stand, evidence from law enforcement's investigation, and trial testimony from Dr. Core, Pat Ceriso, and Lieutenant Jerry Holman would support the defense theory that multiple people were involved in the crimes. This is true because Elvis Fields has provided inculpatory statements that had a social media connection with Brad Holder, and Lieutenant Holman has indicated that when multiple people are involved in a crime, it is his experience that one of the participants will ultimately reveal the secret of the crime. It is also true because a substantial amount of evidence supports that Brad Holder's social media contained words and images that are consistent with the crime scene and also consistent with creating or showcasing an alibi at 2 a.m. on February 14, 2017, when for the only time in his life he claimed in a Facebook post that he was at the gym, as Holder stated under oath in deposition. Holder's social media is also consistent with others being involved and associating and assisted him in moving the bodies. Richard Allen possesses a Sixth Amendment right to rebut Lieutenant Holman's theory that one man, and only one man, was involved in these unalivings, especially when Lieutenant Holman's reasoning for believing that only one man was involved in the unalivings is debunked by the evidence detailed herein, including Elvis Fields' inculpatory statement that supports Lieutenant Holman's belief that when multiple people are involved in a crime, ultimately one person will reveal the commission of the crime. Additionally, as previously detailed, Richard Allen possesses a Sixth Amendment right to present evidence that those involved in North paganism and Odinism were involved in the murders and posed the girls and placed the sticks on the girls in certain arrangements for reasons that are very personal to the people who committed the crimes. Defendant files this motion currently, in part for purposes of a ruling in anticipation of the need to contact our witnesses if the court reverses his ruling. And it's respectfully submitted, and all the lawyers signed it. Wow. I can't believe that this wasn't entered into evidence. So again, I just wanted to show you up here. This was filed October 30th, 2024 at 9:21 a.m. And this is Richard Allen's defense team that filed it. If you want that document or many others, please see the link that is pinned to the comment section right now. That is, again, as the gavel drops, their Discord has all the information that you could possibly want on this and other cases. Y'all, I am devastated. And I don't know. I'm probably going to go. I know I'm not going as long as I usually do, but I'm going to try to read that out and get a video out on this. And I'm just really depressed. I need to go take a walk outside. All my Discord people, please, if you guys can find me any information on Brad Holder or Elvis Fields, please drop it in the Discord so that I can get some images of maybe their Facebook post or something like that to put in the video. If y'all can, I'd appreciate it.
I'm going to jump down too so I can go, but I was going to say before I left today, everybody got the news that Richard Allen was found guilty. And it's hard, I'm sure, to put into words the mix of emotions that everybody has when it comes to the verdict. I'm only imagining what it must feel like for both families involved and the weight that these people have been carrying for so long. It does not erase the pain. There's really no justice served on either side. And everybody that's followed this case, I'm sure it's been a super tough journey. And I think everybody wanted to see justice served, but the finality of the verdict is just heavy. So it's just a reminder that, everybody's lives there were changed forever. And there are real people behind all of these headlines.
There are.
So I just want to hold a space in my heart for the families and the friends and the people that need to take time to process this verdict. And just remember to take care of each other so we can navigate the tough emotional stories together. And go take you a walk, girl.
Yeah,
Thank you
very
for
well
having me
put.
up.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was very well put, and I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. I'll see you soon. Take care of yourself.
All right, you too, love. Thank you. Yeah, with this verdict, I do want to remember the victims in this, Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Please remember their families. I will work on trying to find out how to get the address to send Richard Allen letters and how to put money on his commissary. If you guys want to do that, again, if there's a YouTube channel out there saying that they can do that, I would be very wary of it. I'm going to try to get you guys the links so you can do it directly to yourself and know that that's where it's going. If you want to, somebody asked about contributing to the defense fund, my advice would be to look up the law office of, hold on, let me scroll because I've still got this document down. So look up the law offices of Andrew Baldwin, Baldwin, Bradley Rosie, Rozzi, and Jennifer Auger, Auger. The law office is called Baldwin, Baldwin, Perry, Perry, and Wiley, Wiley, PC, if you guys are looking to try to contact them to donate to their fund. I thank you all for being here. I will be back tomorrow at 1:30. I don't know what we'll be talking about, but I will have a thumbnail up later tonight that will tell us what we will be talking about. And I really appreciate you guys being here and listening to this verdict with me. I love to see you guys chat. I love our chat. You guys make this channel great in that chat box right there by telling us all your thoughts, opinions, and speculations, and doing it in such a respectful way. We have such an awesome group of people here, and I really want to thank my speculating family so much. Go take a walk, try to calm your mind, try to breathe, try to just remember that there is an appeal, and remember the victims in all of this. And I will see y'all tomorrow. I would say have the best day ever, but it's kind of somber. So try to see the bright side in something. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.